Alright everybody, this is Eternal Blade here, and welcome to Concept to Creation, Section 3. In this section, we'll work on refining some of our objects, using some low poly base models, exporting them to ZBrush, sculpting them a bit, getting out some normal maps, making some textures, doing our UV layout, and bringing it all back into 3ds Max, and getting us something that's low poly yet still high detail. So today we're going to be covering this wood bin in our scene. You can see where it is overall, and we can probably reuse it for this little one over here too. So we're going to jump right in. So what I've done is I just isolated our block out that we made in the previous section, and we are going to begin. So the first thing I noticed was it was a bit big, but we're not going to worry about it right now. We're just going to create a piece of wood here in our main frame, our perspective, and it's going to be 15 centimeters long, 4 centimeters wide, and 50 centimeters tall. This should give us a good overall length to start with. And again, it's just going to be one plank. So Alt W to maximize your viewport. Now what you're going to want to do is go to UVW map, change it to a box, and then go to Unwrap UVW, and go to Open UV Editor. Now you're going to see not too much, just a little box there. So if you go into your polygon mode though, let's expand this out just a bit so we can see. And you click on polygons, you'll see it's all the same. But if you press Control A, go to Mapping and Unfold Mapping, you'll kind of see you get, a box shape if you didn't know any better. And it's actually nicely unwrapped. You have your sides, your top, and your other sides, and your bottoms, and lefts and rights, and everything else in between. So this is pretty much all we need to do here. And now we can head off into ZBrush. So click on your object, go to Export, Export Selected, and I created an export folder in my project file here. Exports, and I'm going to call this wood board, and you want to change it to an OBJ. It'll start off as an FBX. Just swap it over to an OBJ, save it, and I'm going to replace mine. And over here I'm going to use the ZBrush preset. If you don't have it, you can pretty much leave it the same. There isn't too much difference. Hit export and it'll say boom, you're done, and we can go off into ZBrush. So open up ZBrush here, and you can hide this right here, and the first thing we want to do is import, and go into your project folder again. Alright, exports woodboard.obj. Alright, now in the center of your canvas, left click and hold, and you can hold shift, and there it goes. Now click your edit object or push T, and using the right mouse button you can click and hold and rotate around your wood piece. Here we go. You can snap it to different planes by holding shift. To pan, hold the Alt button and right click, and to zoom, the Control button and in and out. So that's about all there is to that. Okay. Now before we begin sculpting, we're going to need 2 brushes. And they're going to actually come from a couple of sites over here. So if you go to vmo.com/263-99689 right here, you're going to see, if we can get rid of that, this custom brushes using ZBrush and Max. And right here in the first link is something called Orb Cracks ZBP. This is an Orbs Crack brush, and you're going to want to download that. And the other one is in the Stylized Asset Wood tutorial on YouTube. If you go to Show More by Jared Sabata, he has a MediaFire link right here, and you can download that. He's got a few custom brushes in there, and we're going to use one of his noise brushes. So the way these things work is, once you download them, you can go to your brush button here, go to Load Brush, and I exported the brushes right to here. So first you want to get your Orbs Crack and hit open, and then you can go back, load brush, and we're going to need the Old Style Surface Noise 1. Press OK. And now we've got our brushes loaded. So if we do something right now, you're not going to really see much. There's no geometry here. Didn't want to do that. Crap, now we killed it. Okay, well, life goes on. I don't know why it turned into a star. I don't want it to be a star. I want it to be my board that is now gone. Okay, the board's back. I just had to import it again, which is odd. I don't know what that is. And because I'm not a ZBrush expert, I didn't know how to fix it. But anyway, so we got our brushes here. And what we first need to do is go into our geometry and give it some additional geometry. Because right now it's just one big square. So the first thing you want to do is take off this subdivision smooth modifier, SMT. That'll round your edges out. And then hit divide. Now, depending on how powerful your computer is, you can do this a lot. ZBrush is pretty powerful, so I'm going to go to subdivision 10, which is 1.5 million polygons. And then we can begin our sculpt. So the first brush you want to use is a built-in brush called the Trim Dynamic Brush. So the way it works is, if you just rotate to an edge and you click, you'll see it kind of brings the edge down, gives it an almost flat look. And that's kind of the look we want. So go over, and on all four corners, you're going to want to use this brush. Okay. Now, I'm just using a mouse, even though I have a tablet. You can use whichever you want. Undo that. Control Z will undo things here. Okay. Probably is easier with a tablet, but oh well, I'll survive. And get this last one. There we go. Next, we're going to want to do all the other edges. So just kind of round all the other edges out, just like we did here. We're trying to give it a, a handmade sort of plank look. All right. Maybe we're rounding it too much, but we'll see. Okay, and over, and the last one. There we go. So now we've got our things sort of rounded nicely. Okay, and we're just going to do a little zoomage here. All right, so now we need to start the sculpt of the wood details. Now, like I said, we're doing a stylized wood. So this is where the Orbs crack brush comes into play. It's a very heavy brush that gives a straight line. So what we want to do is bring the draw size down to about 35, should be good. Okay, and then we can start sculpting. So what we want to do is actually just zoom on a little more. There we go. Kind of make some big edge things here and just come off the edge of the wood, just like that. Okay, come over here and off. We'll do one more and sort of come off. Then we can create a little circle here, sort of in the wood, and kind of come over here, gouge it out, and come off. Gouge it out, and come off. And maybe we'll have one last little one sort of coming off from that. There we go. Now we've got some wood texture going on, and you can see it's sort of on the top and the bottom there. You can increase these so that way they go all the way through. Okay. Next, let's work on the back. So sort of snap it to where you want it, and you don't have to do the same as on the other side. You can kind of do whichever you want, go a couple different ways, make some interesting shapes. You can decrease the size of the brush too if you think it's a little too much for you. Sort of coming in here, So there we go, we got a pretty heavily stylized piece of wood. So now what we need to do is let's go on to the next brush, which is the old style surface noise. So you want to make this kind of a bigger brush size, sort of this big, and you just click once, just kind of drag it around, and you'll see you get noise on your wood. Alright, so it's a pretty cool brush. Make sure you kind of cover the tops and the bottoms and the sides of your board to give it that really sort of weathered look. Okay. And there we go. Our stylized wood board is done. So what I'm going to do is go to the UVW map section. I'm going to use a 2048 map here. It doesn't really matter what you use. You can use a smaller one if you like. You just get a little more detail like this. And then you go to normal map. Actually, before you do that, go down one level in subdivision because it won't let you do it on the highest level. Okay? And actually, you probably want to go down to about 4 because any lower and it'll start giving you issues. So go to normal map and make sure tangent is selected and press create normal map. You'll see it kind of goes up here. If you hover over it, you'll see the normal map you just created. Okay? So next, what you want to do is clone NM, and this will put it over here in the texture area. Now with 3ds Max, we want to flip this. So go to texture and flip V, right here, flip vertically. Okay, you're good to go. Click on the texture here, go to export, and then go to your December challenges. I created a textures file for the wood bin, and this is going to be the wood board normal. And it saves as a Photoshop file. You can save it as a JPEG if you want. It doesn't really matter. Do you want to replace it? Sure, let's replace it. Okay, now let's hop back into Max to just test out what we've done. So let's bring up the material editor by pressing M. Okay, now what we want to do is create a V-Ray material. Okay, just a default one. And in the bump map, we want to create, let's just drag this out a little bit. There we go. In the bump map, we want to create a V-Ray and then go to normal map. Okay, and come off here, standard bitmap, and you want your wood board normal. Okay, and collapse your layers, and you'll see it actually shows up in that little texture window there. And now what we can do is click on it and just bump use the bump map and put it at 100 for now. This will give us nice deep bumps. Okay, so then you can drag your thing right onto your board and oops, cancel. Just click your board and assign to selection. There we go. So now we've got our map assigned. Now what you can do is click the show shaded material in viewport, and nothing is going to happen. So what you have to do is go up here to view, let's see, show materials in viewport as realistic materials with maps, and then it will load your map in there and you can see what it looks like. So that's pretty cool how that feature works. Next, what we're going to want to do is work on the texture of this. So it'll be pretty quick. So open UV editor of your board here and go to Tools, Render UVW Template, and 1024 is fine. Hit Render Template, and you get this little black window here. And you want to save this out as generally a PNG will work, and just call it Woodboard UVW and save it. Alright, press OK, and you can close it now. Now go into your image editor, whether it's Photoshop or GIMP or whatever you have, and open up that folder or that file you just saved. So here's your PNG file. Now you can't really see anything, so if I just go below this and add a layer with clicking the new layer button down here and just get some black material and you fill the layer, now you can see, okay, here's our UVW. So what we want to do now is texture it just like in our reference image. So the easiest way to do that is to actually just drag a reference image right into here, sort of scale it down and press OK. So now we're going to use this to sample the color. So add a new layer and put it below the UVW layer, and press B for brush and sample, and just kind of click right on that sort of the lighter area of the wood. Okay, so I'm just sampling sort of some of these pixels. Go to your brush and go to your sort of painted layer. Oops, not this layer, the one right below it. And paint right on it. There we go. So now we've got our base layer of paint. So now if you go to your brush, let's swap over here and hold, click and hold, and go to your burn tool. So now I'm going to actually switch to my little Wacom tablet here. You can do it with a mouse. It's not terribly difficult. We're going to go along the edges here, make it a little smaller with the bracket keys, and sort of burn the edges. So it'll sort of darken the edges up. See how it is here? So just kind of come in on all of the green lines and just highlight them with this burn tool. Doesn't got to be perfect. Make sure you get all the edges. Sort of come in here. Okay. Just to give it a bit of depth when it's actually being rendered. Alright. Not the best textures, but they'll work. Okay, come over here and do the same. Alright, a couple more lines. And don't worry if it goes out a little bit. No one will be looking. Okay, there we go. So now what we can do is, we probably should have done that on a different layer, but I think we'll survive. Let's take this brown color and just sort of darken it just a bit. Go to your brush. Alright, and then you want to get a nice soft brush so you can see what it looks like. And I'm going to sort of come in here. We definitely should have done that on another layer. If you're watching this, put that burn on a different layer. We're just going to kind of give it just some imperfections here. Just a few different colors, just kind of lightly tapping it, just to change the wood color a bit. Okay. Now what we can do is hide the UVW layout. Go to File, Save As. We're going to save this as Woodboard Diffuse. Save it as a Photoshop file or a JPEG, whichever is your choice, and let's go back into Max. So open up your material editor, which is over here, and bring this down in the diffuse map, standard bitmap, woodboard diffuse, and collapse layers. Okay, and immediately you'll see we have sort of a woodboard texture right here. It actually works out pretty nice. So you see all our edges are textured, and we got that nice look. So now we need to go ahead and create our barrel shape. But before I do that, I'm going to make 3 or 4 different versions of this board. Maybe 1 or 2. Just to get some variety in the normal map. So I'm going to pause it real quick and I'm going to come back. It's going to be the exact same thing I just did, except I'm going to do it 3 more times. Alright, I'll be back in a second. Alright, so we are back now. We just made another board, and I realized I don't really have to make 2 more because we can just copy these ones and sort of swap them around. So I'm going to rotate this. Let's see, press A for angle snap and rotate it 180 degrees. press W, shift drag and copy these ones over. Okay, now we're in our left hand viewport here. We should probably actually go to our right viewport. Okay, kind of make sure they have similar distance. Right, now you see how the textures repeat. So for this one, rotate it 180 degrees and rotate this one 180 degrees. So now we've got 4 unique textures for our wood. And if you go into the perspective here, you can kind of see how it works. Just ignore that from our lighting source. Alright, so what we now need to do is copy these. So I'm guessing there's probably about 8 of these or 9 of these aside. So copy, copy, okay. Take all these, and I think we'll get three more. I don't know, we'll see. Okay. So what I'm gonna do, just as to make sure, I'm gonna copy them over there. Now take one and apply an edit poly modifier to it. Hit attach and attach. Yes. Oops. Match material IDs to material. Yes, you want to do that. Okay, and go ahead and attach all of these things very slowly. You could probably use the selection picker, but because I didn't name my materials or my objects, it's not going to work so well. Okay, there we go. So now we got our whole objects there. Next, we apply a bend modifier. Okay, and we're going to change the angle until we find the one we want. So it's not that one. It is the y-axis. Change this to 360 degrees exact. And look at that. Now we've got a nice little bucket shape. Okay. Now what you can do is the direction, make it bigger or smaller. So what we're going to do is kind of change it to where it's a little bigger on top. Sort of our wood bucket size. Okay. Now looking at the concept image over here, I think we're actually pretty good on planks. So I'm going to accept that and delete these. We don't need them anymore. Oops. And do another edit poly. And then we're going to make these 2 things that kind of come up as the handles. I'm just going to move them out in their local axis just like this. We may have to redo those at a later date, but for now I think they're good. You can't actually see them in the concept image. Okay. Next, what we're going to do is go into our thing here and create a tube on the top. I guess that's actually a little off, isn't it? Let's press E and rotate that so it's straight. There we go. So let's make a tube and sort of give it a tube shape. Let's see what we've done with that. Let's change this to shaded so it stops bugging us. There we go. And so this will be sort of the iron ring on the outside of our block here. And we can, that looks about right. Go into our front view, F3, and convert that to an editable poly. Again, I use the hotkey Control Alt Q. And we're going to scale it out right about there. Take the whole thing and scale it not out. Okay. Now click and shift click, and that'll get you all the inside rings there. We can sort of scale or control click the vertices and scale them in. That way they'll all intersect. Okay. And go into your front viewport here. Press W and raise some of them. Make sure you're not on local. That's why I'm having troubles. So raise those and lower these. Okay, push R and scale those in. And scale these in. Let's see if it's centered there. We're definitely not centered, because we have to click here and we want uniform scale. There we go. It's always little odd problems you run into, and half the fun is trying to fix them. So there we go. Sort of our creation thing. So go and let's see here. Control click. Sort of bring those out. And we could go ahead and model all those. I really don't want to do that. And in fact, there might be a better way to do this. Let me just pretend for a moment. And no, that's not going to work. We got to do it this way. Okay, so let's go in here and simply, I wouldn't say simply, but let's just try to line up. I think we're missing some geometry here. Alright, so just to repeat what I just had to figure out here, we'll do it again. But I created a tube with 13 sides this time, which is the number of sides we have here. And then I was able to easily edit it. So I'm going to do it again just so you can kind of see what I did, since I cheated on that one. So go to your standard objects, tube, and top, and create your tube kind of in the center. Okay. And then you're going to want to bring it up a bit. And radius, bring it right to where it's kind of touching, and bring this one so it's kind of on the outsides. Perfect. And then you want to make sure you have it aligned, and once you do, you can convert it to an editable poly with Control-Alt-Q, and select the bottom verts here and scale them in just to match the contours of the piece here. Bring it down a bit, and then bring these ones out a bit more. There we go. Now when you look at it, you have your two rings. Though I think I want to make this one just a shade smaller. So I'm going to attempt to do that. There we go. Okay, now we have our two rings, and we can make those sort of a grayish material for now. What we need to do next is, actually we can probably just do one ring for now. Now we're going to bring this into ZBrush like we did the other. So, well, yeah, so we're going to bring it into ZBrush. So let's go to UV map. This will be a cylinder. Go to unwrap UVW, open editor, see what we've got. So let's just go to edge polygon mapping, unfold mapping. Okay, got some crazy looking shapes here, so we're going to go ahead and so F2 will turn on your polygon mode if you don't have that already. Just select sort of all these ones. Actually, just press Control A and deselect the, which ones do we want to deselect? Well, I wonder. close-ish. No, we'll deselect the top ones, I guess. There's a way you can do this with seams that's a lot easier, which is probably what we should be doing, but which one of these is it? Flatten mapping. Well, now we've got the surface over there. Oh, we got the two surfaces, that's not bad. Maybe we'll just select all the outside edges here. And mapping, flatten mapping, okay. No, unfold mapping. It's closer to what we want, but we really want a flat, sort of cylindrical shape that does not repeat. Alright, so I think what we're going to do here is deselect sort of this stuff. So we just get the tops and the bottoms. Okay. And go to mapping, unfold mapping, okay. So now you got your, flatten mapping. There you go. So now we got our two circles there, separate. Next, what we're going to do is go into all the other edges. So, kind of select those and see here. One of these things allows it to select back faces. Don't remember which one it is though. Strange. Oh well. So yeah, now we're just going to select all the internal things here. Okay, and kind of move it and rotate it around. So that way it fits. Okay, and then do the same for the external one. Okay, and rotate it. There we go, and get it to fit. So there we go. Now we have all of our UVs sort of nicely laid out. Probably would have liked to have them laid out a little bit better, but we shouldn't have a problem with it. They're all going to be more or less a solid color. And in fact, it's probably good because there are seams in all these where they had to be welded together at some point. So, now that we've got that, let's go to our object here and export, selected, and this will be our metal, wow, ring. Okay, ZBrush, perfect, done. So now we can head off into ZBrush. And once in ZBrush, go to your import tool, and you want to do the same thing that we've been doing before. See active projects, not basic training, December challenge, exports, metal ring, open. Alright, and place your metal ring in, and there we go. Geometry, and subdivide it a lot. Oops. Don't do that though. So, place your thing. Okay. Edit mode. And divide. Oh, I killed it. Okay. So now we have our thing ready to go. And here's our doomajiggy. So what we want to do first is load brush, and let's load the old style noise brush. Okay, make it fairly big, and just start kind of placing some noise on this sort of structure. Alright, there we go. Make sure you get it all the way around. And if it gets in the inside, that's fine. I mean, I think it's probably better, in fact. So, be sure to place some on the top. Okay, there we go. And place some on the bottom just in case. If you're doing it once, you might as well do it right. Alright, now what we can do is, let's see, actually looks pretty good. Alright, so do the same thing here real quick. Just go to your normal map, create map. Oops, sorry, gotta be on the couple divisions lower. 5 should be good. Normal map, create normal map. There it goes. Make sure it's good. And actually, yep, looks good to me. So texture, flip V, click, export. This is going to be Active Projects December Challenge textures. This is going to be metal ring. Alright, this will be metal ring normal. Save it and go back into Max. So with your material, just make a new material here, sort of off to the side. You can close those. Bump map, the same thing. Go to your oops, there is a V-Ray normal map. And drag it out, bitmap, up, metal ring, there we go, and change your map, your bump map over here to 100. Alright, and you can see what it looks like over there, and just quickly just drag it up there. See what we've got, if we've got anything. It's odd not really seeing our bump. Ah, there you go. Show material in viewport. Should have done it. And I'm fairly certain it's there. We can figure out the mistakes later. Okay, next. I've got that. View, viewport back. How interesting. We've killed it. Ah, okay. You have to hit with maps instead of without maps. Didn't realize that I hit the wrong one. So there we go. Now we see our map here. And then we're just gonna quickly open up the UV editor here, and mapping, tools, render UVW template, render template. Alright, here it is, save it out, and we're going to call this ring UVW, and save it as a PNG, which is a lossless image format. Okay, go to Photoshop, File, Open, and then you want to go open your metal ring texture, your UVW map. Okay, brush, just sort of get a grayish material, make it huge, and sort of brush it in. There we go. And then you're going to want to go make your brush a little smaller again. Burn tool. We're going to just sort of burn the edges, That way you get sort of a weld mark, where the metal is welded together. Okay, looks good. And let's see, what else do we want to do? We can probably sort of just give it not quite that high, sort of just darker areas, sort of break up the texture there. Okay, save that. There we go, Files, Save As, Metal Ring Diffuse. Okay, go back into Max here. Material Editor is open. Diffuse Map, Standard Bitmap, and Metal Ring Diffuse. Okay. There we go. Now if you look in our viewport, we've got ourselves a nice little sort of metal ring around our sculpted doomajiggy. So let's just bring this down, push R, and just scale it in just a bit so that it fits around the other one. May have to move it and position it just a little bit. Alright, looking good. We are nearing the end here, guys. Looks like one last little, well, we don't even really need a bottom piece for it, but just to sort of polish it off, we'll give it a little base here. You're never going to see this, so I'm not too worried about what it looks like. Alright, bring that down. SW, sort of move it up. And if you are going to see this, you can just sort of do the exact same thing we did previously with sculpting and whatnot, but I think I'll be fine with just dropping this material right on it, even though it doesn't match up. And life will probably be fine. Actually, we're going to give it a wood material. God, is that atrocious or what? Alright, well. Crap, don't want to delete it. Just want to delete that. And we're actually going to give it maybe just a, I don't know. It's probably fine as it is. Give it back this texture. There we go. Actually fine. Can't ever just leave a texture the same. You always gotta do something. Even if it's just giving it a dirty, nasty brown color. I'm not even sure why I'm editing that texture when this is the one I want. Just in case some reflection has it, we'll put it right there. There. So now our bucket is done, and I want to thank you guys for watching this tutorial. I know it doesn't look like much, and you know, probably really isn't much, but the method that we use to get here is what's really important. You know, using the 3ds Max to ZBrush sort of flow and how to create all the different maps and whatnot. And again, you can fix this bottom piece if you want. But for now, I think it's pretty good, since it'll be kind of hidden behind my scene like this and you can't actually see anything. So what we're going to do now is grab all this, call this wood bin. Okay, unhide all, and then sort of go on all your viewports here and delete the old wood bin. Click new wood bin, and you can go to your camera here and position it accordingly. And it looks like, let me go into my image here, scale it up just a tad. Well, yeah, just a tad. Okay. put it right up there. I think that may just about do it. So thank you guys for watching this tutorial. You've seen how to make sort of a game asset there, very low polygon but high detail, and you've seen the workflow. So I'll see you next time.